Welcome back, everybody. I'm JD,
And I'm Gail.
and we're back from our summer vacation.
Something like that, yes.
All right, and today we're just gonna sit here. We're not doing a real fancy show. We're just gonna sit here and talk to shit, right?
That's a good idea.
Enjoy a couple cigars and a couple good drinks,
Absolutely.
and discuss current events.
Alrighty.
So, where do we start? Well, I can say one thing that Kim, my producer, and we've moved into a new residence. So hopefully we'll get a studio set up there. It's still close to the bunker, but we are broadcasting outside the bunker here today. And we really don't have.
We're hidden behind the bushes and trees, so you can't see us.
That's it. We don't have any kind of agenda here today, so we're just gonna, like I said, smoke cigars, drink, and see what happens, and then we'll get back to our regular show starting next Sunday, hopefully, and produce some more great shows here on Gale Force. Again, you can find us under YouTube under Gale Force Creations. Find us under Facebook under Every Bit Matters, BitTube under Gale Force,
Yes.
and yada 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 and yada and yada.
Links below.
That's it. And well, since it is the 4th of August, hard to believe that this year is already gone by. There's been a couple shootings in the news.
Yes.
Let's get that out of the way. A bunch of people got shot by some crazy men. Okay, what's next?
They lowered the interest rate quarter point, and the stock market took a dump because they wanted a half.
Yeah, so again, we might be getting closer to Armageddon, economic Armageddon, since Wall Street didn't like the cut as much as they want.
Well, what's even more interesting, but you got to be more into the actual world of finance to realize it. There's almost a complete bond inversion. As of last night, the 1 month bond was 2.11. You go all the way out, even the 10-year bond is only 2.08. The 30-year bond is only 2.04. It's 2-3 basis points above the 1 month. That's almost a total inversion. And people say, what difference does that make? Well, what difference it makes is all your big corporations and stuff like that, they escrow money. And they try to draw interest on their money that they escrow. And if they can't make any money on their escrowed money, well, let's put it this way. Every time there's been a total yield inversion in the last 40 years, within 18 months after yield inversion, there's been a very big economic flop.
Yeah. Big recession.
Well, let's see. 1987, 1999, 2008. There was a big bond yield inversion.
So something could be happening because you were mentioning the other day when we were talking that Deutsche Bank is having a few problems.
Yeah, people are pulling money out anywhere from $100 million to $1 billion a day are leaving Deutsche Bank, going somewhere else.
And they're having the same problem in China. China has some of the biggest banks in the world.
The fourth largest bank has been assumed, sucked up into it bank, and the third largest bank this last week, it was absorbed into the second largest bank in China. So everybody, they're playing a game of chicken with this
The tariff thing.
Yeah. Okay. China is actually. Okay, let's do on the books. Okay, on the books, we got like 22 trillion of debt. Off books, that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
And that's
10
not
times that.
Yeah, easily. But China on the books has over 40 trillion of on the books debt. And their economy is slowing down. In the last 3 or 4 weeks, there has been at least anywhere from 8 to 10 trucking companies that are totally folded up because there's not enough freight to haul. So if there's that many places that don't have freight to haul,
Yeah, and
that means things are slowing down, even though you may not see it yet.
And I just noticed today that gas prices are coming down quite a bit, and a lot of people think that's a good sign, but that's a bad sign when gas prices go down, because that means trucking companies aren't buying gas.
Well, and
And
people are carpooling to work. They're not going as many vacations.
one thing I did notice, I actually went shopping the other day to Walmart, and they actually had signs put up on some of the shelves saying that we're low on inventory, but hopefully that'll be corrected pretty soon. Now, Walmart's having a hard time keeping their shelves stocked. What's going to happen if there's a big recession? There's no trucking companies to get the food to the grocery stores. You know, it's not looking really good out there.
No.
So, you know.
Now, one of the things that also this last week that's kind of flying under the radar, to try and get things and interest started up. There was a big thing with Facebook, and the Libra coin.
Yeah, Libra.
Okay. Walmart wants to have their own digital currency.
What is this saying when big companies like this are wanting their own cryptocurrencies?
Well, now, see, the thing is it's not a true crypto. They're talking about having what's called a stable coin, which means it's just tied to a basket of different currencies, like the euro, the dollar, the yuan. It's just like...
It's like a digital form of the dollar.
Yeah, well, the thing is actually, majority of people don't realize that you've already got a digital form of the dollar.
Yeah, it's your bank account.
Most people don't deal with cash.
Yeah.
They deal with their debit card or a credit card. So it's just all numbers. It's a digital thing already. If Walmart or Facebook or something gets their digital currency, but it's tied to the dollar, we'll say, it's just a way to try and get people to spend some more money. That's all it boils down.
Well, that's the thing that they're pushing now with the credit unions. You know, get your credit score up by just signing on and hitting a couple buttons, and we'll raise your credit score. That's an incentive to try to go out and get in debt, which is the last thing you want to do when a recession comes, is be in any kind of debt.
Well, the thing is, a fiat or a paper currency that has no limit, that's a form of debt to begin with. See, silver and gold, any commodity, silver, gold, platinum, oil, hard asset commodities are money. Everything else is debt.
Yeah.
Even J.P. Morgan said that back when he was alive 100 years ago. And that's why there's been so much, all these banks and all these countries are trying to get all their gold back. They're trying to get it inside their country's borders. They're trying to get it away from...
You know something's coming up when the banks are trying to buy as much gold as they can. And there's another thing. You want to get away from... You don't want to have just one bank account. You might want to have a couple different bank accounts. Plus, you don't want it just to have a bank account. You want some digital currency. You want some silver, some gold, real estate.
If nothing else, you should get like a debit card, like the Walmart card or the American Express card.
A prepaid card.
A prepaid card.
Yeah. So in case your bank goes under, you get to something.
Right. If you keep a couple $100 on a prepaid card, if your particular bank, branch, or stream, whether it's Bank of America, Wells Fargo, JP Morgan Chase, if they do a shutdown for a few days, money on a prepaid card is like a gift card. It's money that's there.
Yeah. And this is another thing about banks. Banks are really, they're not banks anymore. Okay? A bank is just nothing but a government institution to see how you spend your money. Had a friend of mine.
It's a clearinghouse for money. Yeah.
Had a friend of mine. Now, you would think a bank you could go in there and change a dollar bill out or change a $10 bill into two fives or get whatever. Had a friend of mine who needed a roll of quarters.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he walked into the bank. Okay, and he said, I need a roll of quarters. Popped out his fiat currency,
Mm-hmm.
and they asked him if he had a bank account there, and he goes, "No, I don't bank here. I'm out of town. I just need a roll of quarters." They told him, "We can't give you a roll of quarters because you don't have a bank account."
Right.
So a bank is no longer a bank. You used to be able to go to a bank and take a $10 bill and get 10 ones or, whatever you wanted, quarters or whatever. You can't do it now unless you're
Right.
a member of their bank.
Right. You're better off going to the grocery store or Walmart and going to the service counter and telling them that you're over there at the laundromat and you need a roll of quarters.
Yeah.
Can they sell you a roll of quarters?
Yeah, you can't do that at bank now. And Australia now has just put a limit on. We have a limit here at $10,000 when they report it to the government. Well, now in Australia, you cannot make any cash transactions over $6,000.
Right.
So this hurts businesses. Businesses don't deal in $100, $100 or a couple $100. They deal in thousands of dollars. Well, now bank businesses, they have to get the government's permission in order to do banking. So when the banks are getting this tight and they're buying gold,
they have 1% or less of cash compared to the deposits.
Yeah, so things are getting a little scary out there. Again, we don't give financial advice, but we do hold digital currency. We do hold gold, silver, some real estate, anything that's some kind of commodity. I'm thinking about starting
pork and beans,
yeah.
dried foods.
I'm thinking about buying a truckload of toilet paper and storing it somewhere.
That might sound silly, but paper towel and toilet paper, you need to take and have at least a month's worth. And when you get into your month's worth, like the big 24-roll toilet paper, when you break that open, go buy another one to keep it in the closet.
I'm actually thinking toilet paper, you really don't need to store that, because by the time it gets to the point where toilet paper is worth that kind of money, your dollar bill isn't going to be worth nothing. So you just use your dollar bills like they do in Venezuela. Yeah. So maybe toothpaste.
But no, we're poking fun at it, but this isn't fun.
Yeah, because something's going to give. And
So
especially with this tariff war going on now, we are paying the price for the tariffs.
Right.
Trump's saying that China's paying for it. I see his point to where China has ripped us off for the last 20 years because we've had bad fiscal policy. He's trying to straighten it out. He's actually bringing prices back to where they ought to be. And
Right.
the prices ought to be there. We should be able to buy American products made in America, but we're so used to buying cheap stuff made in China because it's cheaper, and then we complain that it's cheaply made. And he's just trying to level the playing field, but at the same time, we're paying the price. But we're paying the price of what the price would be is if it was made here. So now it doesn't matter if it's made here or made in China. I'd rather it be made here, because then at least we have the immigrants coming over here. We can give them jobs.
Right.
So that we can pay for their health care. So it's all tied together.
It really is. It's all, everything is just so interconnected. You can't believe it. You'll pull your hair out and you go like, how the heck it's been going on slowly for years and years and years.
Yeah, and the people just go along with it because they're not taught this kind of stuff in school. They're not taught any kind of economics. They're not taught any kind of financial responsibilities as they get older. And it's just,
they don't even teach kids how to balance a checkbook in high school.
They don't even tell them what a checkbook is, because you have a debit card and who cares, And look, if you get a debt, a student loan, we have all these Democratic contenders who's just going to say, well, you don't owe it anymore, and we'll let somebody else pay your debt. So yeah, we're really teaching our kids really good financial, backing by telling them that you get into a bad deal, somebody else will pay for it.
Well, if they went to college for something worthwhile, like to learn a trade or something like that, you can't have all chiefs. There's got to be Indians. You can't have everybody in the country working in an office on a computer and
I
not producing anything.
I saw an interesting statistic. You know, you have to have plumbers and carpenters and concrete guys and electricians in order to build new
Right.
buildings and stuff like that, keep the economy going. Do you have any idea what the average age of an electrician is right now?
Probably 50,
56.
56.
56 is the average age of a professional electrician.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a professional electrician can bring home more money than a congressman can.
Well, if he's not cheating.
Are you talking about the congressman or?
Yeah.
So we ought to be having more trade schools. Forget about free college, free schooling. We ought to have McDonald's and Lockheed and Google. All these big companies ought to have their own trade schools, and let them pay for it so they have qualified people to continue to keep this country going. I mean, right now, if the average age of an electrician is 56, what's going to happen in another 10 years? Nobody's going to be able to wire a
What's
house.
the
You're not going to have
average of a truck driver or plumber?
probably the same, probably in the 40s or 50s. And
Because
look,
none of the young people want to get their hands dirty.
yeah, because they think it's not a, I'm not saying viable job. They don't think it's glorious, but they don't realize how much money they can make in the trades. The trades is good money because you can't even put an electric fan up by yourself. You got to have an electrician. To do anything around your house, you got to have an electrician doing now because of the occupational laws and the permitting laws, and it's just getting ridiculous. But yeah, we need to. Don't worry about free college. We ought to have free trade school.
Yeah, there needs to be trade schools. There needs to be. People need to learn what small business really is.
Yeah, and you can't have that here because it takes you 4 or 5 months to open a business now with all the permits you have to go through. First, you have to go through the city, then you have to go through the county, then you have to go through the state, then you have to go through the federal level, and then to get a banking account. Holy Jesus! Try to go open a bank account now. It's ridiculous. Just this country's gone to hell. Well, it's not gone to hell. Well, it did about 100 years ago when they started the Fed.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing they need to do is teach about the Fed.
Yes.
But if that will ever happen.
No. They're more interested in running around. Oh, that person's racist. That person's misogynist. Quit doing the finger pointing blame game. What can you physically do? If you can't physically do something, are you really what you think you are? Are you really what you think you are? Most people can't even change the doorknobs or door locks on their house. They have to hire a handyman because they don't know how to take 2 screws out and assemble a doggone door lock.
I actually had to teach my kid how to jump a car.
Right.
It's just it's kind of sad out there. It's just, and then we have like you said, the term racist. It's used so much now that it just goes off your shoulder. Racist, yeah. You can't prove who's a racist or who's not a racist. It's just so overblown now. If somebody doesn't have an argument, you're a racist. Just makes me sick.
Yeah, well.
That's why I got out of politics. I used to be in politics big. Now I just talk about it and complain about it. I gave up voting because, look, it's very important. I am going to say that the 2020 race is very important. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because if we don't get Donald Trump reelected and a Democrat gets in the office, we're just going to end up with the same thing. So it really doesn't matter who's elected, whether it's a Republican or Democrat. It's going to be the same crap over and over again.
The world economy, in my opinion, is heading sideways anyway.
And sideways, I think it's heading more lower. And there goes our producer. I'll have to grab a few more beers.
But
I did.
Trump and people that will support him. It's like, are you going to take and run into a wall at 50 miles an hour or 10 miles an hour?
Yeah, that's
You have a chance of surviving at 10 miles an hour. You have no chance of surviving if you hit a wall at 50 miles.
that's true. I did see though that Sweden is moving along pretty good with their environmental movement, and they just passed a new environmental tax, a carbon tax.
Carbon tax.
Okay.
Oh, what a con.
And the electrical companies have just announced that they're going to have to cut back on producing power because they can't afford to pay
The carbon
the
tax thing?
carbon tax. The problem is they can produce enough electricity. They get a lot of electricity from hydroelectric,
Mhm.
solar, and
Wind.
wind and nuclear. But way out in the boonies, they don't have that because there's no plants out there. They have to run lines,
Mhm.
cable, telephone lines, power lines out there. Well, they can't afford to do that now because of the carbon tax. So now they're saying a lot of these outlying cities in Sweden, which of course Bernie wants to be just like Sweden, they just said that all these outlying places they can't get to, good luck, you're probably not going to have electricity, and we're going to have to start cutting back in some of the big cities because we can't afford the carbon tax.
Right.
But at the same time, they're saving the earth. So now they're going to have to import more trees from America so they can burn it just to stay warm.
Right.
So they're going to actually produce more carbon emissions from this tax.
Mhm.
So
Well, the tax is
doesn't
nothing
make
more than
sense.
another form of tax is a form of theft.
Yeah.
Start out with.
Yeah.
Carbon tax is theft on steroids.
They just jump it up.
Because saying that it's CO2, plant more trees. Trees take and process CO2 into oxygen.
You know who one of the leading countries is of planting trees? As a matter of fact, just a couple of weeks ago, they set a record of planting 1 million trees in like a weekend. Nigeria. Of all places, not here in America, but in Nigeria, they planted over 1 million trees. So they're doing something about it. They're going out and acting.
Yeah.
It's like our college kids. I love it when they go to the beach and have their big parties, and then they stay around for a couple of days to clean up after themselves.
Yeah, sure, like that's going to happen.
Like all these big parties they have, these rave parties, how they stay after the party and clean up after themselves. You hear all these kids saying that we need to clean up the earth, we need the government to do something, yet they won't bend over to pick up their own beer cans.
Right.
If you don't do it yourself, don't expect somebody else to do it for you. So you lead by example.
Correct.
So when all these politicians give up all their private airplanes, I'll follow them.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's and the government can't do it. We have to
You
do
can
it.
wait when you go back.
Really?
We got a screensaver on here. I gotta fix it.
Yeah.
All right. So what else is we missing?
A friend of ours getting in trouble and somebody else drove his car.
Yeah, well, hey, what is maybe one of the big linchpins that Americans aren't aware of is this Brexit.
Oh yeah, they're gonna do it one way or another, with or without a plan.
And that's going to upset the European economy.
Well, I don't know. Didn't we just do a big trade deal with the Europeans? I think the president's supposed to say something about that. I
Well,
don't know what we want to import from them except cheese, but we make great cheese here, don't we?
yeah. Trump said that if they do it, that he would help Great Britain out by doing trade deals with them.
That would work.
It's all, not that we're going to become Venezuela. Things are going to get tough.
Just a matter of at what level of tough.
Correct. And everybody wants to badmouth Trump. Yeah, he's a scoundrel, but he's a businessman, and he knows how to
Negotiate.
negotiate, called the art of the deal.
Mm.
And the thing is in the long run, if everybody goes down, but we don't go as hard as everybody else, will still be on top of the heap.
Like you keep saying, will be the prettiest of the ugliest.
That's right.
However that works.
Prettiest ugly sister there is.
Yeah, really haven't heard much about Venezuela lately. I thought Bernie would be bringing that up during the debates, but all he does is throw his hands up and tries to start the YMCA chant, but nobody else will go with it. So
Right.
I still want my free TV.
Yeah.
I'm still going with Bernie.
Well, the latest one, they're trying to crank up this global warming thing again. It's like, oh, because they've had the hottest summer in Europe for, I don't know, so many years, yada yada yada, and the glacier on Greenland's gonna melt, and it's gonna be the water's gonna go up 20 feet. No.
Well, wasn't it Al Gore who said back in 2000 that Florida would pretty much be underwater by 2015?
Yeah.
So the Earth is a little behind schedule there. I guess they jumped it up to 12 more years. According to AOC, we have only 12 years now before we go underwater.
And in the 90s, in the 90s, we're talking about how we're running out of oil. We're going to be totally out of oil by 2010. And
they
all
keep
this stuff.
moving the goalposts. You know, at one point they're going to have to leave the goalpost somewhere, and if we don't hit the goal, then they got to change it. But you know, when they keep saying, well, it's another 10 years, it's another 10 years. I'm getting old, folks. I need to see the end of the earth before I go. Okay, so which is it?
And if you want to take and do things that way, if you study real history, you'll find there was a global warming period back between about 700 and 1200 AD, or Common Era, as they try to whitewash it these days. And the glaciers on Kilimanjaro and all the rest of them melted. And yes, the water level did rise around the Earth because everything was melting. Even the tundra in Canada was up, and all these things. You can go here in Florida to the coast. There's a thing called the dunes. Well, the dunes are only about 4 foot or so above where the water level is at now. So the last time we had a big glacial melt, the waters of the earth only went up about 3 or 4 feet. They didn't go up 20 feet. We've got history to prove that.
History's a mean teacher.
Yeah. Anyway,
All right.
we've been babbling a lot.
Yeah, now it's on to drinking a lot.
There you
A
go.
lot of shit's happened in our lives there the last couple of months. That's why we've been kind of on hiatus. But we're ready to get back with Gale Force Creations here and get down and mean and tough. We got to quit pussyfooting around and really do some good shows here. So, we'll see what
So
happens.
people need to stock up. Hey, when you find can goes on sale, buy them and put a date on it and rotate your cans. If it doesn't happen,
Hey, watch your hands. Watch your language. Later.
yeah. Mm-hmm. And just rotate your stock. Hey, worst case scenario, you break even.
Oh, hey, a quick note on Florida. We are located here in the Central Florida swamps, the swamps of Central Florida. You know, they're legalizing recreational marijuana and medical marijuana all around. And did you know that they passed a law here in Florida that hemp, you can now grow hemp,
Oh, really?
industrial hemp. But the problem they have is they don't have any field tests to determine that if you caught with cannabis in your vehicle or whatever, they don't have a field test to say, is this cannabis or is this hemp? Because
Right.
they're so closely related that the Attorney General just said that they're not going to prosecute any more marijuana
Growers?
or anybody caught with marijuana. They're not going to, because they don't have a test to determine is it marijuana or is it hemp.
Right.
So right now, smoke them while you got them. If you're in Florida, I'm not saying it's legal to have marijuana, but if you get caught with it, just tell them it's hemp.
Right.
Okay? Again, we don't give any economic advice here
Or legal
advice.
advice.
Okay, I'm just saying that if you do get caught with something in your vehicle, it's hemp. because they can't test for it right now, and it takes weeks. And the Attorney General, they don't want to prosecute the case because it would take forever, and they don't have enough labs to do the testing. So smoke them while you got them. That's one good news in Florida.
Okay.
Well, what else can we talk about before I go get another drink?
Yeah, that sounds like enough for today.
That was a pretty good start.
There you go.
I think we still look pretty on camera. We still have some coherent thoughts.
Right.
Now, if we can just start planning our shows, we'll see what happens.
All righty.
So again, you can catch us on YouTube under Gale Force Creations, Facebook under Every Bit Matters. Any quick Bitcoin news? Oh, somebody said that the United States, like Trump said, he's not a fan of Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
And some people say, well, maybe we ought to look at banning it, outlawing it. They can't do it.
First off, it's like banning you from walking your dog. They got to find you and get you in the act to do it.
Yeah.
Owning or having Bitcoin in a wallet, the only thing they could actually do right now would be for a while, would be to curb it if there was someone that was taking it like a business.
Yeah. It'd be a little scary to take it as a business. As individuals, I mean, the IRS might come after you because they want their fair share of everything. I wish they'd go after Bernie Sanders and get his fair share. So I'm sure he's not paying his fair share. But get some Bitcoin, get some Litecoin, put it on some hard drive and store the hard drive or something and just have it just in case.
Right.
And
it may go way up. It may go to 100,000. It may go down to 2,000 or 3,000.
And they're not going to outlaw it because there's no way they can outlaw it.
Right.
Unless they turn off electricity. But then they just have solar. Oh man, now we got to not only turn off the electricity and the internet, we now have to put the sun out.
Correct.
The only way they're going to ban Bitcoin is if they put the sun out.
If they shut down the internet, your store you can't use your credit cards. There isn't enough cash to go around. You got bigger problems than losing your Bitcoin because the internet went down for a while.
Yeah. Bitcoin is, I'm not saying Bitcoin is the future, but digital currency is the future.
Oh, yeah.
And banks are worried, but banks will be going under, so you don't have to worry about banks pretty soon.
Yeah.
Oh.
They just haven't found a way to control it yet. If they were to find a way where they think they can control it, they'd be all for it.
About the only way they can control it is if you turn it into fiat currency. Why would you want to do that?
No, that's called Libra coin.
Yeah, that's what Facebook's for. The only way they're going to control digital currency is if they allow Facebook to do it. All right, folks, it's been fun. I'm JD.
And I'm Gail.
And we'll see you next week.